we bring you the another interesting tech Pathshala on the cloud technology, the impact of digital acceleration on the cloud and the need for skilling. This particular session will be in two parts. So to take you through the session, let me welcome Srinivasa Uppala, Head ISV, Product Engineering and Digital Service at Sonata Software. Srinivas has over 18 years of professional experience in the IT industry in key roles and responsibilities of working in conjunction with the CXOs and the program heads, extensive knowledge of enterprise application lifecycle and ecosystem development. Welcome, Srinivasa, over to you.
Good morning. This is Srinivasa Uppala. I am Head of Cloud Services at Sonata. The topic that we plan to discuss today is about how digital transformation is impacting the industry. Of course, all of you know about it. But more importantly, the idea of this session is to discuss about how, when the customer is transforming themselves, how we as people who are the prime movers of this kind of a transformation for customers need to reskill ourselves and make ourselves better and make ourselves more learned about these topics, and then make sure that we become masters in executing these services for our customers. So let me introduce myself and my company a little bit before we go into the topic. Like I said, I represent the cloud services at Sonata. When I talk about myself, I represent three hats at Sonata. One, like I said, cloud. Second, I talk about is I also take these services to what we call as a product engineering and platform engineering companies with a focus to help them rebuild these products in the new age environment, which is cloud. Then the third one is I also help customers plan and then digitize their operations, their services. So we call that role as a digital strategist role. So I execute that role at Sonata. In terms of what Sonata is, Sonata, as you know, is a IT services company and has been growing really fast in the last few years. But more importantly, what do we take to the customer? We help customers become digital transform, and at our approach, we have a unique way of doing that. And our approach is called platformation. What essentially we mean by that is we help customers realize or design and execute platforms as a base to do digital transformation. And our view is that building platforms help customers create the transformation exercise or in terms of becoming a transformed company in a much better way. And the examples are there. You can see there are good examples like Uber, Amazon, who have been building platforms, and then they're able to use these platforms to be able to deliver a new set of services, new models. And our view is that if we can build the same kind of platforms for our customers in their bid to be transformed company, I think a platform will help them accelerate their ability to deliver new services, because the platform is such thought and such built. So let me go into a slide deck mode and then give you a few slides. But my focus will be a few slides, but more of what exactly we want to see as what transformation means, and then how transformation can help in our ability to execute better services and newer services. So let me minimize this so that you can see the full slide. What we are talking about is, we are again talking about a huge amount of opportunity for all of us. And when we talk about this huge amount of opportunity, we are talking about literally the transformation that has happened way back in 2000, when we moved from what is called very client service oriented technologies to the web technologies. Internet has been the prime mover for that kind of a change. I think now we are talking about digitizing everything, and Industry 4 digital technologies are making such change, and where the companies have to reimagine their way of business and their way of working with the customer, the way of working with their employees, the way of working with regard to their own internal processes. And of course, they are also rethinking what kind of services and what kind of products they need to deliver. In this case, what we will discuss about is, we know that digital transformation is happening. We know that it is getting into an accelerated state at this point in time. And then we know that cloud is an essential component of such digital transformation. And that means that we as audiences, we know that cloud has been there for about 8 to 10 years now, and some of you might already know about it. But I think cloud is in a different way is becoming what is called the infrastructure of digital transformation. When we say infrastructure, I'm not talking primarily from a hardware point of view, but I'm talking from overall. If you look at from an as a service model, cloud becomes one of the key elements of this as a service model that every company and every customer is trying to achieve. And therefore, we as people who will deliver these services to our customers, we need to look at what kind of skills we need to develop and how we deliver the services. When we say we were always coding, we were always delivering, we were always designing, we were doing architecture, we were doing many things. But I think this paradigm changes that in some way, everybody needs to think in a larger space, in a larger context. And that means that, why and how my code, if it is put into the cloud, is going to make an impact. There is security concern, there is data concerns, and it is actually remotely placed there. So people are talking about many of these things, and then we need to have a skill to make sure that that is secure, that is processing things faster, that is able to grow by itself, that is able to grow, scale to the needs of the demand that is being placed on. So lots of things that are becoming more engineering here, and then that's why it is important that we reskill ourselves. Let me go. So essentially, transformation. What is transformation? It's about applying these modern technologies and then making sure that these capabilities that we talked about, business processes, this ability to deliver better customer experience, this ability to ensure that not only that we are delivering better customer experiences, but we are able to ensure a lot of changes that are happening in the market we are able to deliver that faster to the market. So those are all things that we're talking as digital transformation, and this ability to make that happen within the organization is what the companies are trying to say is digital transformation. So when we talk about digital transformation, we are talking about the ability of the company to transform all its physical activities into digitized operations. So you will hear lots of these words called IoT, which essentially is a way to convert your physical systems or physical equipment or your machines or whatever that is into digitized, and therefore you can monitor and you can actually view, and then you can actually operate, and then in some ways you can also control them. So similarly, you will see a lot of paper-based operations becoming digital operations. A lot of physical activities that humans are doing are being converted into digital. So you are seeing that all the processes that an organization is endeavoring in delivering its services to customer is all getting converted into a digital. So how do we do it? We apply technology, and digital technologies are the ways to make that happen. So if you see, essentially there are 4 different ways that companies are trying to make this happen. I'll just briefly touch upon. One is, of course, what is called all the things that I'm trying to do essentially is trying to achieve a better customer experience, and then so that the customer stays with me, or I acquire a new customer. So that's one part that we'll see. The second part is we wanted to make sure that we not only see, if you look at some of our services today, we have to go to different parts, different people to get our service. But I think companies are coming closer, are becoming networks. They're trying to become ecosystems. And then at the end of the day, if the customer is center of the universe of all these players, I think combining our forces together and then delivering that service to the customer makes customer much more happier and much more sticky with you. And therefore, the ecosystems of partners are joining together to create these ecosystem platforms to deliver these services. So the second thing that you will see. The third thing is, I have lots of equipments, for example, things like Uber or an Ola in India. We see that these guys are monetizing and making people collaborate in a different way. So that's what we're trying to talk about. Assets and Internet of Things is basically to bring and realize a better utility and better utilization for our assets. And the last one is, of course, if you want to deliver all these things, at the end of the day, if you decouple your employees from delivering the services, it will not happen. So you need to make sure that your employees and your workforce has the right kind of tool sets, right kind of skills, and right kind of abilities to utilize these technologies that have been deployed to deliver that experience to the customer, and then to make sure that they utilize the business processes as well as these new digital elements that have come in to better effect for the customer. So that's what we are talking about, the digital transformation. So you might have already seen that this means that a digital transformation, essentially, if you split from a business perspective, it means that companies are doing this because they see a lot more growth and a lot more opportunities for them to grow. They can access the customer better. They can access and then identify the customers better. they can understand the customer's purchasing behavior, because now you are more or less every customer is leaving certain kind of digital footprint across the spectrum of how they are engaging with the customer. So I can understand what they're doing, and then therefore based on that I can give better experience. Of course, on the other side, you're also saying, while I can identify and then select and then deliver better service to my customer, there is also a need for me to ensure that whatever I deploy as money, resources from my company perspective, they also need to be efficiently deployed. So the way to do that is again digital transformation, and then the way to deliver that is through what is called operational improvement exercises that we do. So processes, better processes, better capital use. When we talked about asset utilization, that means when to use asset, where to use asset, how to make sure that the asset is more utilized. All those things come under that thing. Of course, last one is agility. We talk about delivering new features. We talk about DevOps. We talk about cloud ops. All these things about automation, RPA. All those things come under this process called agility, where we want to deliver these things faster by making sure that most of the decisions are automated. Therefore, AI/ML comes into that space where you are trying to make data, you select the data and use data to deliver this decision. So then, of course, if you can combine and if you can get all this data, if you can get all this information from the various sources that you have collected, you are able to see these things, and then you are able to see the customers better. Then you will see that needs better, and therefore you are able to create better products and better services. That's a new business models that we can bring out based on this entire exercise. So that's exactly in a nutshell what we call as digital transformation, and that's kind of agenda, and that's kind of processes that that's kind of things that companies want to establish, enterprises want to ensure happen. So this summarizes the entire thing that I spoke just now. So I'll skip this and then let's move to the next one, which is how does this mean? What does it mean from a cloud perspective? Because they essentially we need to now understand how cloud delivers that digital capability, isn't it? So if you look at the way what digital is establishing is that you are able to make sure that you are able to connect, collect, collaborate with many people. So that means I need scale of operation. I need scale of operation to deliver. We were talking about agility in the previous section. So the agility and the need for making sure that I'm able to connect, collaborate with many people is about the scale, and then this operations, we are talking about much more complexity. So how do I achieve that? So that is one part that we think is a need that is established. The second need that is established is I'm engaging with the customer in many spaces here, and then probably from this is the first time probably in the history that we are able to trace the complete life cycle of how customer is engaging with us, or we have ability or technologies that are there to trace that. And given that I am able to connect and I'm able to collect this data, it makes easy, or it makes bigger sense for me to ensure that I collect the data and I process data. If you look at Google, the way it collects the data about us and then process it, they just collect today. They know that someday they can process it and then use that for giving better service to us. So that's exactly what we are trying to do here, to collect as much data as possible from a customer point of view and process it, and then create intelligent use cases that we can deliver to the customer. And then again, this means massive amount of data and massive amount of processing. So that means you need that kind of a scale again. The third one is, how do I collaborate, right? So if I'm trying to do lots of processes and all these processes have to be connected with each other, and then sometimes there is an excessive requirement of certain processes and sometimes there is less requirement of something. So how do we ensure that my applications that are running those processes are able to scale to that need and are able to switch between these different demand patterns? So again, we see that because of that reason, there is a need for that kind of infrastructure being there. And last one is, if you are given so much of data, if you are given so much of compute capability, if you are given so much of ecosystem, so many new people coming into your ideation processes, and then of course, if you are having such kind of an ability, internal employees who can actually work with all these problem sets that you are able to see, then of course there is a huge amount of innovation that happens. And then how to make this innovation come into fore, that means experimentation itself, and after that making it available to the user and see whether it is useful, and then how to then convert it into mainstreaming. All this process itself has to be executed in a scale level and in these companies. And then that means that again you need to have an infrastructure that needs to be able to give that. And then our belief, and then of course it's reality as well today, is that cloud by way of its various facets is able to give that kind of a capability, and that's why huge growth is seen from a cloud enabled and cloud based services in the industry today. So let me go into a little bit deeper in the sense, what does it mean to us, right? So as a IT folks, we need to deliver certain things. One, from a people's perspective, you needed to see people from two angles here: people from a customer perspective and people from an employee perspective. In both cases, we need to be able to deliver a better capability and better experiences so that they will be able to absorb and understand and use this service, these capabilities. Second one is you want to make sure that the processes, so again, I'm repeating this, but more important thing is the technology that is associated with these things have to be understood by you. I just cannot understand only one part of a cloud and think that I'm able to deliver great services. The key thing here is, if I want to deliver great experience means three or four things. One, I need to have a great application and execution of that application. Two, I need to make sure that the availability of that application, availability of at the performance at which it needs to work for the customer is at best stage. Three, the customer's ability to engage with the data, the processes that he's engaged with, all those things need to be in better shape all the time, and it should automatically scale and scale down depending upon how and then for them it is service. So it doesn't matter how many other people are using, or it doesn't matter what services. We can't give any more such types of uses. So if you look at that, so that means great experience has to be designed. Great way of designing the application at very big scale need to be done. Deploying the application in such a way that the customer doesn't know that he simply drives. He just he's got this driving engine, and then he simply drives, and he doesn't care what exactly is engineering that is going behind it. So if you look at that way, we need to design, and then that all these capabilities in terms of how you deploy your apps, how the apps are being distributed, how the services of the cloud can be then used to make sure that the scale can be achieved, then how the services of this service of the cloud can be used to make sure that various kinds of data can be collected, how then that can be analyzed, and how then that can be delivered back to the customer or to the employees to make sure that they take informed decisions. So one single aspect, like people with customer experience focus, is about understanding this entire life cycle and then designing each component in such a way that they connect with each other and then deliver that thing. So that's the kind of role, or that's kind of things that are changing for everybody. And then therefore you will keep hearing this something called unified engineering approach. That is how people are talking. And then that talk is because this is the impact that we will create if we have a better and then better understanding of the overall process, and we have an ability to then ensure that we are connecting our ability or our own skills to deliver that kind of service. So let me move to the things. I think this might be known to all of you. So I picked up this from one of our NASCom thing itself. But idea is that there are these kind of services. So in some way, customers are consuming this from a technology perspective. They're consuming cloud as cloud services, which primarily means two things. One is cloud has all this massive capability, compute capability, server capability, or you can call it as platform capability. That means they give you database as a service, the DevOps as a service. They are giving these services. The second thing that they are doing, that they have given creating, developing applications much more easier with the cloud infrastructure that they give you. So therefore, one aspect is this cloud services. The second aspect is what is called the digital or the various data-led services that you get. So things like making analytical AML services, things like user experience, and collecting user experience is highly dominated and driven by how you deliver your using the data, your experiences using data, and you're learning from the data. So that's what the user experience does. So so therefore there is a lot of this data-led services that is important, and in this data-led association you are making certain kind of personal, certain kind of very specific judgments about how people consume, and therefore cyber security, the ability to make sure that this is not leaked to everybody else, is also important. So that's what you see as digital services. Then of course there is a traditional services. What we see is, you can see that traditional services increasingly is forecast to reduce. So that means if you want to be in employable state, if you want to be in a growth state, because we are seeing that there's a massive growth in future. But if you are seeing in the growth stage, obviously you will want to be in this space, which is the infrastructure space. You want to be in the cloud services space, or you want to be in the digital services space. There is also something which you will keep hearing, which is this process automation, and then I think increasingly that space, which was supposed to be the BPM space or the business services space, is also changing, because I think it is becoming outcome oriented rather than just providing people-based services there. So what does it mean to us? It means that from a traditional, the internet engine based approach to, we are moving towards more as a service approach, which essentially means that the end consumer doesn't care how you have built it. They only care what service it provides and then how it is able to live to the standards that people have imposed on it. So the standards are of course evolving. Many standards are being created and it is evolving. So for example, availability standard or accessibility standard or scalability standard, they're all evolving as we speak. That means it's a very exciting time because we are also both creating as well as also learning and as well as evolving. So this means on us as developers, there is a responsibility to not only understand what it is right now, but it also understand how things are evolving as a simple developer, as an infra developer, or an automation developer, or as a data developer. It's important that we understand where we are today and we understand the implications of every change that is happening and then how it is going to help in those 4 areas we spoke from a digital transformation perspective. So if you look at, if I break this down into aspects, so there are application services. So you are an application engineer. You are someone who can build, design, think, and then deliver. But when you talk about application engineering, you are talking about from a cloud perspective, how do I design this for cloud? How do I ensure that this is a globally available? How do I design in such a way that the data is globally available? How do I design that the collaboration doesn't stop and then it's not just localized, but it's also global? So there are many nuances of design that comes into the application design. There is many nuances of deployment that comes into. There are many nuances of how you enable and then disable the services. And those are all things that you don't definitely understand. The second aspect is where do you think it is better to use a cloud native services, and where do you think we need to design or we need to use a non-cloud cloud native services? Those are all things that again come in. So understanding what platform capabilities does a cloud give, and then therefore how do I ensure those capabilities are then utilized in my application. And of course, infrastructure, compute, how do I ensure that the compute becomes dynamic for me? In what cases I need to use what is called infrastructure automation, and what cases I need to use what is called the software-based compute capabilities and software-based. Actually, for example, all these concepts of containers are the ability to automate, and then the ability to make the services availability and then services grow swiftly and scale swiftly. All those things are function as a service. All those kind of capabilities are important here, and that's what we need to learn. So if you look at this, all layers are connected, and each layer person has to understand how to implement the rest of the services in such a way that they can be. For example, you can't simply say, I'm an infrastructure service guy, I don't understand how code should be deployed or how code should scale up, because at the end of the day, automation of the infrastructure is vested in some form. There is that infrastructure specialization, but at the same time, there is this collaboration capability that we need to have in terms of how we engage. So therefore, if you look at the way teams are being created, the teams are being created in such a way that there are all these skills are part of a typical Scrum team or typical pod team. And each of these people, while they bring their specialization, over time, I think the expectation is that there will be probably you will have 50% which is specific to application, but 50% of these things you are becoming self-sufficient in terms of how you apply. So since it is in early days, we are talking about people being specialized a little bit, but I think over a period of time you will see more and more people becoming generic. They should have all the capabilities across all the spectrums, and then there will be few specialized people who will continue to be specialized within infrastructure or a platform or an application. But mostly, most of us need to be across these 3 capabilities. We need to understand. A good example is people who are writing Java and the people who are writing databases about 10-15 years back were different. But today, I think application developers do that database design and database development and all those things themselves. So that kind of change will be seen in cloud aspect. So what are the skills? I'm just once again coming here. So there are 5 big areas that you want to look at as a skill. One is you want to ensure that you understand how anything that you want to take to cloud is understood, whether it's cloudable, and if it is cloudable, in what way it will be cloudable. So that is what we call assessment skills. So in some way, you need to have that skill. The second one is you need to understand how the infrastructure of cloud is deployed, and in what way this infrastructure can help you in creating your applications and ensuring that those 4 elements of digital transformation is achieved. So you need to understand when you're doing infra services, you need to understand how the infrastructure is designed through the functions or through the container method or through other VM method itself, in what way this needs to be done. You don't want to throw automation on every application. You need to understand what is a use case, and based on that, you need to design that service. So in that space, you need to look at security, you need to look at optimization. Nobody wants huge cost because we have created an application. So there is a continuous trend in terms of reducing the cost. So optimization is a continuous process. So you will see that cloud managed services become important in terms of reducing the cost, even though the demand and then the data and then access to the application and the number of users are growing up. So that's the kind of automation we are looking. Only when it is working, we need to consume costs. That's what is the paradigm that is going towards. The last one is the cloud engineering. So cloud engineering has got two elements. One is people who want to build cloud native applications, or you're building applications that are too many layers, and each layer will have its own way. For example, you might see that there is API layer by itself, there is a data layer by itself, there is a data platform layer by itself, there is an analytic layer by itself, there could be UX or application layer by itself. So there are many layered applications that are being developed. So you need to decide with this kind of complexity in what way we can help customers. We can design everything, or we ought to be part of one part. You want to be specialized in one area, but as I said, over time you might have to go into a stream where you have to develop or you have to learn all the skills, and you should be becoming a truly cloud unified engineer. Data platform essentially does two things. One is it's a part of whatever application you're developing. In more sense, most of these applications are becoming very intelligent. So a lot of this data comes out, people do processing of the data, people create some kind of algorithms or models based on that, and then feedback that into the application itself. So one stream of work will be looking at that. The other stream of work is to look at from an enterprise process point of view, collect all the data from multiple processes, within the process changes, and then create intelligence based on that. Multiple process, cross-platform, cross-processes intelligence we need to create. So there are multiple ways you can deploy data. So creating a data by itself, data platform by itself, and building these cross associations, and then making sure that these cross associations are able to then give insights to the users, either as a model or as a independent data to the user, or by alerts. So there are many ways that you want to deliver these services, including search and such capabilities. So again, if you see each of these landscapes, there are specialized solutions, specialized capabilities that are coming out. But if you're looking at as a cloud developer, and if you want to be a cloud apps person, or you want to be an app led person, you need to understand everything. If you are a data person, you do still understand infrastructure, and then how the APIs will be consumed by application, you still need to understand. So you might have 70%, 60% of capabilities in one area, but the other areas are also important in a cloud future. So that's exactly what I want to cover today in terms of how cloud is impacting our careers, and how we need to think in terms of future, what could be transforming for us, and then what should we therefore learn and move towards. To leave you with a simple summary of things, if you see cloud is something like a engineering, you would see multiple types of applications that talk, but each of these applications then have to collaborate with either other applications, or need to collaborate within themselves, or need to collaborate with many services. So you have API platforms, then you have what is called, all these things are basically collecting data. So you have data platforms, then you have cloud platform that is infrastructure, and then the PaaS kind of capability that itself. And then you have a engineering process that is either design thinking led, lean led, and then DevOps led, and a lot of automation that is going around, and then innovation that is going around. So you need to have a process that goes in. So all these things are very complex organism if you see, but like I said, as a cloud engineer, you have very good space. You are in a great space in terms of growth, and then great opportunity for growth. So if we are able to look at ourselves from a career perspective, while we might start with some specialization, it is important that we understand the depth, and then we understand what exactly the customer is expecting from a digital transformation point of view, and therefore we need to reskill ourselves in each of these areas to the extent that we are able to deliver these kind of capabilities to our customers. Thank you very much for your attention, and any specific doubts, you can always reach out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Srinivas. With this, we come to the end of part one. We take a short pause and return in a couple of minutes for the second part. Meanwhile, I will request the partner to play the AV.
Why are born digital companies successful? What is the secret of their success? Platform-based business models. Sonata's platformation model helps you to build platforms that are open, connected, scalable, and intelligent. We are partners with leading global technology providers. We hope to build a better future by connecting people to their businesses. Sonata, the platformation company, Innovation Partner, NASTech 2021.
Welcome back to all. Let me hand over the stage to Srinivasa to continue with the second part of the session.
We were discussing about the overall, I showed you the diagram where we were discussing about the overall nature of how the applications are changing. The way application landscape is then dictating the way you integrate. We were discussing about these ecosystem-based approaches, and that means that your ability to integrate and your ability to connect with other applications has become much more wilder in that sense. So you need to bring some kind of a discipline to this process. We discussed about how engineering processes, including DevOps, the agile, the lean way of things are contributing to this discipline. Then we discussed about the data and how the data platforms in its two variety forms, right? As a part of the platform development itself and as a part of the enterprise need for data-driven approaches, the data platforms are being built. And we discussed about how automation-enabled cloud is allowing these systems to grow as per demand or to recede as per demand. So this entire scaling up, scaling down approaches, the entire API paradigm, the microservices and micro front-end paradigm, all these things are obviously a consequence of why and how businesses are demanding from IT as to what kind of applications or what kind of platforms and what kind of scenarios they want to deliver to their business as well as their customers. So what we'll try to do today in the way we wanted to discuss further is I will try to explain this through some 2-3 examples as how we were, and then in general as an industry, are trying to help some examples of corporations. I've taken 2-3 examples here in terms of a retail scenario, a manufacturing scenario, because of the preponderance of that. There are more examples in banking, financial, insurance. I'll give examples of them, but the idea is to give you a glimpse of how cloud is becoming central to this entire digital transformation process. So what I'll do is I'll reshare my slide here, and we need to have the ability to in terms of how the retail industry is impacting the overall how the digital transformation is impacting the overall industry here. So I'm trying to show you this slide. If you see this, this gives you a glimpse of how the retail industry is transforming and the various ways the retail industry is trying to become. So you can see that cloud is centralized, and so cloud is providing all the things that we had discussed a couple of times. We discussed about the apps. It is storing the data. So if you see, it is primarily the conduit, and it's a force that is helping the various elements of digital transformation across retail. So this gives a great glimpse of that in a visualized form. But core thing, if you see, we were discussing about this the employee experience or the customer experience. You can see that the way the attempt is being made in terms of how a store experience. Now, the store experience doesn't mean that the person has to come into the store, but the store experience is about how the person has been able to search through. It could be an app. So we are talking about omni-channel experience. So they can particularly come into they can buy online, and they can come and collect in the store. So there are various models that have evolved because of this digital transformation. Like you can buy online, then collect at the curb. You can buy online and get it delivered at home. So there are many things that have happened. So, but to make that happen, to make this to achieve this, retailers have to do a lot of transformation internally, right? So in the sense, the customer, you have created this e-commerce, omni-commerce model, but if the inventory information is not available in the store for the customer to buy in a particular store, it is very difficult. If you don't connect, let's say I want to buy something from this store and I want to return in some other store because of the reason I might find other store closer to return, whatever it is, then since they are not connected, you will not be able to return. So these are all the things that means they need to ensure that they operate what is called a connected store operations. They need to operate in terms of creating smarter capability within the store experience. For example, somebody enters, so you have IoTs, you have sensors which are finding out where you are engaging. You might have videos which are allowing people to find out where they're engaging. So we have done this for a couple of our customers where the person is able to do the search. They can find which stores they want to go. They can find which items they want to buy. So this entire omni-channel experience through there are multiple products. You can do it custom way. You can use popular products that are available, be it e-commerce systems like Shopify or Hybris. There are many such products which can be implemented, including our own product that we implement called Cartopia. So there are many things that goes through this. And then once they enter into the shop, there are many other technologies like your IoT technology, I was saying, your GPS technology, your video analysis technologies. You look into them and then see where they are engaged, which aisles they're engaged. There are also navigation systems that have been put. For example, I want to buy something. Instead of I searching through the entire big store, like I can give them the navigation. I want to find that it actually takes me the path. The sensors are there to find out whether the inventory is enough or there should be more inventory be put. So the employees are benefited by seeing how much of inventory or what type of inventory and for what product inventory has to be. And then based on the engagement that customer goes through the shop, we also have this promotional modules which look at, hey, this person is engaged, he's interested, maybe there is a reason why, so should I give some promotion to him? So there is a lot more engagement oriented promotion that can be done here, right? So this is one great example of how we have been transforming. There are other things that are happening in the marketplace. So apart from the customer experience part, we were talking about how do we ensure that in a retail operation, there are three things that's very important, right? The customer. The second thing is ensuring that availability of goods, the supply chain of the goods is very important. So how do we ensure that the right amount of stock is available within the store and is in the pipeline through the various entire supply chain process? Now, how do we do it? Is there a better way instead of humanly collating the data with regard to what is being sold, what is not sold, where exactly the shortage is felt, where is the trend in terms of buying? So if you want to collect all this information, for example, what kind of orders are coming in, what sort of seasons are coming in, what sort of customer interests are coming in, and based on that, can I stock my inventory? And then when I stock inventory, if it is depleting, if the things are being purchased, so can I use more automated fashions like drone-based stock counting so that I know what exactly is the real inventory that is available, and then make the corrections and then try to bring the new inventory that is required. So these are all things, that is the kind of things that are changing in the retail scenario. And then obviously, as I spoke, you were able to visualize that there is an element of apps that is giving experience to the consumer. There is element of collection of data through which I'm able to make intelligent decisions in terms of where to store, what kind of stock should be stored, what sort of material should be purchased, or what sort of material should be brought from the main warehouses. You are able to understand. There is also an element of analytics in terms of AI that is being put, so basically based on the customer's engagement, which aisle they are engaged, which product they are engaged. I can do video analysis, I can do image analysis, I can do engagement analysis, I can using IoT things, I can understand which inventory is moving faster. So there are many use cases that you could have already perceived. So this is one example. I'll take you to the example here. So this will give you a little bit more, right, in terms of what is that customers are now asking, right? It is not just merely that you made the product available to me, but it is also about the fact that that product, where did it come from? What is its lineage? What is its traceability? What kind of material has been used? Has there been any kind of compliance related issues? Are there any ethical issues that are a part of that particular supply chain? The customers are very vigilant about that. So they are typically asking based on scanning process or based on their ability to scan and quickly find out what is the lineage, and then they want to make decisions based on those factors as well. So people are asking, can I get the traceability? So it's not just merely asking for the information that is there, but it's also about the sources of your raw material and the countries from where the raw material has come, and they want to see the entire process. It's not the business buyers, but it's also retail buyers who are interested in this kind of stuff now. The second thing that you can see, they are also interested in many things. Where exactly the material is coming? Is it coming from local? Is it coming from external factors? So it's about a lot of these elements that you need to be able to provide as information for a person to make decisions, and that need to be available on their fingertips. And then that means the operations in terms of content operations. I was talking about content operations as a little while earlier. So the content operations, how much of content you need to be making available, what sort of content to create an immersive content. Do you want to use AR, VR to make sure that they actually visit those locations and see that actually the manufacturing processes were very good, they were done in a neat and then clean fashion. You want to give that kind of experience, you have to implement technology again. So these are all things that is important from a consumer experience perspective. So let me go back and then let's talk about the other facets of engagement here. So you can see that we were discussing about this. So you can see that when we did deploy our solutions in a store, in a fashion retail store, right? So we had to help them with modernization of what is called their point of sale systems. We have also provided them a mobile as well as a local store POS for them. Then in some cases, we had to provide them with in-store beacons and then in-store IoT solution-based integration. We have done the drone-based integration so that they could do stock counting for themselves. So there is this various models that have come, click and collect, and then click and curb collect. So all those kind of things we have implemented. We have been able to provide both the way people have reacted to the social information and other things. We have been able to collect that and then provide right feedback to the product managers within the store or the merchandise managers in the store. Those kind of things we've been able to do. So this helps in. So there are other things that we have also helped these. Like I was telling you, it's not just one store being connected with it, but it's about the entire store chain connected with each other. So helping in making sure that it is connected with the customer, it is connected with the other stores, and it is connected with your internal systems is very vital for us to deliver a digital transform capability for customers. What are the things I was talking about? The other core, which is supply chain. So how do we make sure that the store managers and the inventory managers in the store are able to know what is the inventory that they're getting? How do you ensure that the inventory information and its availability and it is and the store managers' ability to deliver that, and then it's from a consumer perspective when they can receive the material. All those aspects have to be connected so that the customer experience is better. And then of course, if I as a store person is unable to answer my customer, I am also unhappy. So the ability for the store employees to be able to provide right answers is also vital for the employees' morale there. So this is about that visibility, what material will be available, when it will be available, when it can be delivered. If the customer has asked specific requests, how do I place those requests? For example, I need some specialized product, or I need some specific product to be delivered because I need it urgently. So whatever the reason could be, that if I can take the specific request and then service my customer. So in some way, it's not just about what is there in the store, but is also understand what is the local needs of the people, and then see if I can stock that, or I can at least provide that service for the consumer so that they can continue to visit me. So those are the aspects that come in, and then again you can see the aspects of technology, and then you can see the way the consumers are using mobile apps here. The consumers are using are providing a lot of data to us through which we can make those decisions. So this gives you a quick glimpse of an example of how we have helped their retail store transform the way they visualize their customer, the way their store operations are digitized, both on the various channels, the omni channels, as well as in-store experiences. And then we have the way we have helped in terms of visualizing the supply chain and helping in terms of automating the supply chain, and then the ability to order. So we call it an intelligent order management system. We call it an intelligent inventory management system. So those kind of things we have been able to create. Let me take to another example. This one is more from a manufacturing perspective. I just wanted to give you a glimpse of how manufacturing is seeing. So most of the images are courtesy internet. I have not tried to create anything. So you will be able to see these diagrams anywhere you want to see. So the idea of this is that while the retailers demand material, right? So the back-end process, which is the manufacturers, the companies, have to also ensure that they are able to receive this information and they're able to in some way react, in sometimes proactively predict what is the retailers asking or what is the consumers asking, and then prepare themselves for. So this is about automating your plans, automating your raw material supply chains, automating your forecasting processes, or automating your consumer experience processes, automating your industrial retail buying experience processes. So many things that are coming in, and then there are various again facets of technology that is applied to make this happen. So let me take to you some examples. So I will talk in the context of a particular music equipment manufacturer. So the music equipment manufacturer is looking at how they need to improve their customer experience. So the way they started was they started with focusing on how do I make my internal operations very visible, connected. So they come from a legacy environment to a more ERP based digital environment. So they wanted to create all the processes. So they primarily deployed a new ERP. They've made sure that most of the physical processes are now digitized as a part of this ERP implementation. So when I say ERP, it is basically not just ERP, but beyond, much larger than the ERP context itself. Second, they looked at how do they implement the manufacturing executions, the MES, and then a modern factory system, so that they are consequently able to connect that through IoTs, and then have some kind of IoT platform through which they're able to provide some kind of a maintenance elements and some kind of production enablement information, and then visibility of that information into the ERP as well. So those are all things that we were able to do there. So one example of that. The second aspect that is more important is they are more of a B2B2C kind of a provider. So their need was that while I know I am trying to build this equipment, but I have a larger vision, which is I wanted to be more very I wanted to make sure that I understand my end customer, how they are the consumer of my equipment, how they are using it, what exactly they need. I want to get a better sense of that. So while they ship their material through the stores sell to the customer, the end customer starts using it. So there are multiple ways they are trying to reach the customer. One is they created this community portal where they can share the experiences with them. The second thing that they try to do is when they route or when they come and then meet their the service centers, they've connected the service centers with a CRM system, so that when the customer comes, they know, okay, this is the person who registered my product, and this is the same person who is telling me the experience and then which product. So they're able to capture that information and then provide that information as a workflow to their R&D department, and then to their manufacturing department, to their marketing department, to basically better align and better improve their product. So that's the second thing that they are trying to do. The third thing that they were trying to achieve is how do I reach to the customer, right? So how do I improve my products? How do I get better sense of usage of the product? So they started putting some amount of the ability to sense the consumer's behavior, what kind of information they're using, how do I fine tune the kind of music they listen on the equipment. So they have started putting AI/ML based approaches to improve the music quality of what they listen on their equipment. So the equipment will, the AI/ML system will suggest that on your equipment, this kind of music is much better. If you are looking at this kind of music, this might have said this kind of settings are important for you, so that it becomes you will have a better experience of music. So those are all things they have started working on in terms of using AI/ML based approaches to improve the quality of listening and quality of experience of the equipment. So that's the third thing they have started doing. And then using the offline modes, for example, online mode, all the music music provider like Spotify or your YouTube guys, and they will understand what you're listening to and how much of that you are listening to. But during the offline period, when you actually downloaded, what kind of music you are listening and what periods, what times you are listening to, that is also a consequence to music companies. So they are trying to build this ecosystem where they're able to understand what is the offline consumption of music, what kind of music is being consumed, and then they are able to provide that information to the music companies itself, so that that ecosystem can thrive together. So that's the kind of vision they are trying to build on a consumer side. So this aspect, which is about how do I make sure that my plant, my procurement, all these people are connected. So like I said, ERP is being implemented here. Apart from that, of course, the elements of data, how do I understand various processes, what elements of processes are doing very well, all these things sitting on the cloud, and then their ability to process IoT data there is all very important here from their point of view. And then second thing is, how do I ensure that my ecosystem, for example, I'm making something, I manufactured something, I have done an R&D of that, I've actually then made it mainstream, and then I've started how do I ensure that my downstream companies which are selling my product are able to understand what is being done, they understand the specification, they understand why it is being produced. So integrating them into this process is also very important for them. So how do I integrate my distribution ecosystem into learning my product and then understanding my product? So that's another thing that we are trying to build with them. Then the second thing is on the supply chain, how do I integrate my suppliers so that they know what they need to send to me? And then that is another ecosystem we are building. So there are two types of, apart from manufacturing automation processes that we have been, we are also looking at how do we make the distributors become much more engaged with the products the company is making, and then they also become part of how they can advise. And on the other side, supply chain. So we have done the supplier part. We are actually working on the supplier part now, but on the distributor side, we are still thinking as to what is the best way to do that. So that's another transformation we are talking here. So this explains the manufacturing scenario. So I will move to another one. So this is again in a travel scenario, how a travel company which is selling your holiday experiences to you is thinking of how they should transform themselves. So this is a company that used to sell as individual country-based units, and then have now decided that they want to be an integrated operator across they were always integrated, vertically integrated in terms of how they were providing holiday experience, but they wanted to become an integrated operator across the regions, across the countries that they were selling. So they have tried to create an IT system which is like a platform-oriented way. So they will have one platform, but it will be deployed by different companies, and then you give different experiences to different countries. So that is what they're calling as an omni-channel holiday experience kind of approach. The second thing, they wanted to aggregate all the inventory and then try to make sure that which inventory, which type of holiday different countries and different consumers are consuming, and try to make that available. Earlier, I used to have my country-specific approaches. Now I am trying to bring all together, and then I'm able to better service my customer within a region. So that means my power of largeness and my power of huge inventory, I'm able to sell through multiple regions and multiple channels. So that improves their ability to become more profitable. The last one, of course, is once the consumer starts, once the customer has bought, how do I engage them in the various aspects of holidaying itself? So there is a platform that is being devised and created for them to experience at each stage what they can buy, what they can experience, what they should be planning. So, and then helping them in terms of their experience, in terms of taking videos, pictures, and then allowing them to download them. So those are all things that happens in each of these places. So, so this is purely the way the overall examples of a few examples of how various companies are visualizing the way they want to change, and they want to deploy this digital solutions here. So what is the impact of this, right? So we have been doing this. Now, what is the consumer started expecting for the employee? The core thing is, it is okay for me or someone else, like the consulting or someone else in the management side, telling that, hey, I will transform your retail customer experience. I will transform your holiday experience. So I can say that. But the core thing is, if we are unable to translate that as a company and as a group of people together, as an ecosystem ourselves, as developers, as designers and architects, as a person who can visualize what the customer's opportunity here is, and then consequently customers' opportunity to service their employee. If we are not able to visualize that, then it becomes incredibly difficult for people to translate what is discussed, what is promised into this. So that means in some way there is this expectation that people understand, people are able to, I am able to code this, but when I did that, if the consequence of that is that I'm not able to give that kind of information, or I'm not able to make that information easily accessible on my app, then I might be doing something wrong. So how do I ensure that I'm able to query those information faster? So how do I put technologies which are API led, or which are open source led, or which are, let's say, Microsoft, whatever technologies that you've chosen, how do I ensure that the data comes to the consumer, the decisions come to the consumer faster, I'm able to push, or I'm able to pull the information faster? So those are the consequences that are there. And then it is not just merely delivering the functionality. So delivering functionality is no longer the primary goal of the thing, but it's about delivering the experience, right? So the entire app has to be experienced. The entire the various other applications which are consuming your application services have to experience. So it should be fast. It should be the quality of the information that should be there. It should be trustable. So data quality, all those things are becoming consequential here. And then in some way, based on the use case and based on that understanding of what the consumer wants, the developers and then the entire agile team, or the scrum team that we call today, have to come together and then visualize that process. And that is the core thing here, in terms of we not only shaping the technical skills, but we also understand the use cases slightly better, because this is also about we being consumers and then our experiences. So bringing these two things together, that means the understanding of how the consumer thinks and how the consumer can behave is an expectation that customer has, that you are a consumer, can't you think as to what? So this is where I've shown you in one of my slide how design thinking is helping. So putting customer, or putting the participant who is experiencing the entire process, is one thing that developers have to engage with. The second thing is, how do I ensure that my skills are not just limited to a particular area, but I need to understand my skill impact on other areas. If I have to write something, if that particular code has to be really scaled up, do I use some functions and therefore allow the infrastructure that my system has to work on is automatically scaled? So those are all things that decisions have to be taken by developer now, and that means that people have to design, develop in that sense. So that is the essence of, one, engaging with what the user experiences are going to be. Two is designing and developing in such a way that we not only code the functionality, but it's also about how this functionality is getting engaged in terms of its experiences with the customer. And then there consequently the automation, the technology operations, all those things in terms of measurements, in terms of its observability, all those things have to be considered here from a developer and then engineering perspective. The third perspective that is coming here is, it is no longer that there is this entire division of labor that I start with, there is some requirements guy, there is some developers, there is some tester, there is some support guys, there is some production system operations. I don't think I'm sure you guys know better than me, but I think more and more these are all getting integrated into a single scrum team. People take responsibility for that thing, and then people understand what measures they want to take. They keep measuring, observing what they've delivered into the market, and then they sense what exactly they need to correct. If the performance is on the production side, if there are challenges on the production side, how to improve that. So those are the metrics that people are correcting, and this is a team which is becoming self-driven, independent, focused on a particular service kind of an approach, and an as a service approach, right? So we talk about as a service at the consumer end. This is also about as a service at the at an engineering and at the an IT end. So that is the picture that will emerge, and it is emerging, and that is what we need to look at and then build our capabilities into. And the idea of this particular presentation today is to basically make you aware how digital transformation, and from there how digital transformation is impacting the cloud, and then how cloud is becoming central to this entire transformation agenda, and then how we as IT folks need to build our skills and need to build our capabilities, and then just enlarge our scope of thinking in terms of both experience part, in terms of engineering part, and in terms of management of the operations part, so that we can actually truly deliver better experiences for our customers, and in turn help our customers to deliver better experiences to their customers and customers. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Srinivas. Very insightful. I'm certain that session would have definitely helped the audience with a better understanding of cloud technology, the need for skilling, and how organization can get started on this roadmap.